when it comes down to it though, today I want to mainly focus on the Archon quest, and I'm not gonna sit here and lie, I kinda don't know what the hell happened. Right? I played it, I saw, I seen the scene, I understand that there was a catastrophe that happened, the cataclysm, I saw all of it in its cubiness, but to keep very much real, I don't know every piece of detail to it, so I'm just gonna say what I think happened, and at the very same time, just kind of go off of, what my personal thoughts of the quest is. Right? Okay. I think I said something along the lines like some time ago where I was like, yo, real talk, Dane is kind of cooked, right? I feel like high key, this man is super cooked when it comes down to what he's trying to do here, because there is so many other things at play, so many other factions that exist within Tibet trying to do their own damn thing, and Dane is just one Khaenri'ah ass dude, right? A strong Khaenri'ah ass dude, but a Khaenri'ah ass dude none the dang less, and boy howdy does it feel like this in this quest right here. I'm not gonna lie, Dane kind of put me in a position where I'm like, damn, I really think this character is useful, but at the same time, I can't help but to feel like this character is also kind of useless too, right? Like, don't get me wrong, he out here blitzing folks, he out here just bombing on the abyss creatures, because yeah, as a character that is supposed to be as mystical as Dane is, I suspect that he should be able to one-shot most characters when it comes down to all the enemies. But when it comes down to his sense of thinking, I'm not gonna sit here and lie, I feel like he's a bit on the back step of that, right? And the main reason why I'm like this is because apparently they're trying to go ahead and revive Khaenri'ah, which we already knew, but they are actually a lot closer to that than what we have realized, with, Lemine kind of doing what they did at the end, or at least your abyss sibling did it at the end of what they did, which we'll get to that at some point in time. But when it comes down to it though, literally you need like a lot of stuff to kind of make this sort of thing happen, and one of the main things that made the Loom of Fate kind of go out their way to, make a new Khaenri'ah to be an actual thing is memories, which we haven't heard about that in a while. Honestly, memories is like one of the things that is pretty dang important that we really like ever haven't heard anything about it in for a long time. I think the last time we really heard anything about memories, I think, was like in Sumeru, but that's really about it. But when it comes down to it though, essentially they took all the Khaenri'ahs that were abyss creatures, took all their memories, and then literally shoved it into the Loom of Fate like it's basically like some piece of glue that you're trying to strap onto the boot of your heel because your shoe's heel's about to keep falling out. Just get in there, you bitch! And that's essentially what it is, right? But at the very same time though, they're missing a vital piece. Someone like Dane would very much help them get the information that they need when it comes to rebuilding their homeland. And the thing about this too is that, we're not gonna really see what old Khaenri'ah looks like. I highly doubt we'll actually see a full-fledged old ass Khaenri'ah the way it used to be. And now we're gonna get this probably new version of Khaenri'ah, this new thing, because if you're only building off of memories, there is some holes and flaws and something there that's not going to necessarily match up one-to-one as to what it should be. Even if with Dane's mind alone, I don't think it's going to match up to everything that it really should. And now, I could be wrong on this when it comes down to what Dane is doing here, but to be honest, I feel like he's kind of a stupid ass, because when it comes down to it, he's out here trying to, body his old teacher that taught him how to use a damn sword in the first damn place, but he out here bodying the hell out of him, even though the teacher basically is like, yo, the Loom of Fate is pretty much doing what it needs to do. It's about to be, woven up right now, and yeah, we're gonna win this hoe. But also at the same time, we could really use your memories, sir. So how about it? Why don't you just go ahead and slide us some memories real quick? And I believe Dane said something along the lines of like, yeah, that's fine, had the memories as long as I get to beat the shit out of some of you Abyss Order people. And I'm like, Dane, are you serious? Do you not see the problem here? This man is clearly offering you something that your baity ass can't necessarily, you know, ignore for 5 seconds. Dude, he is literally going to absolutely take your memories and shove it into the Loom of Fate, or use it at some point to get your memories and shove that bitch into the Loom of Fate, and then make Khaenri'ah actually happen. Which, why would you sit here and agree to this? Like, don't get me wrong, I understand you want to take down the Abyss Order. I'm pretty sure everybody does, but at the very same time, you gotta be an absolute idiot to sit here and just be like, yeah, you know what, take my memories, I'm still gonna beat your ass. This is gonna cause a small problem, right? Because didn't your bitch ass say back in the chasm that there was no need to revive the homeland? You're letting them revive the homeland, you dumbass! Now again, I could be wrong, I could be misunderstanding what this quest thing is trying to do, but I'm not gonna sit here and lie. That whole discussion, at least from what I understood of it, made me really realize, damn, Dane is hella dumb here, right? He is kind of just letting everything that doesn't need to happen, pretty much going ahead and letting it happen. For a man that doesn't necessarily like his brother Volifanir out here trying to be prophesying over stuff that's going to happen and has never been wrong, you sure like to give him all the keys to make him right. But that's Dane though. But what about the rest of the quest though? Before I actually jump into the main P's and Q's of everything, which is the ending of stuff, I do want to go over the quest a little bit, just entirely, and what my thoughts are about it a little bit, which I'm not gonna lie, Paimon's voice is new, and I'm have to get kind of used to it. It's not necessarily something I'm gonna immediately get used to just off rip. It does feel softer, it does feel gentler, and I do like that, but at the very same time, it's still gonna be some time to get used to that. As much as I don't like to admit it, or, you know, I don't think anybody would, I still kind of trying to develop a sense of like, okay, what does Paimon actually sound like now that the old VA is gone and we got this new person? I don't know. Hopefully it will just sink in a little bit faster, because I ain't gonna lie, at the current, the new one just sounds like a little different of a Minnie Mouse, if I'm gonna be absolutely honest. Secondly, I also saw people sitting here kind of complain about the Khaenri'ah NPC Dirdif, talking about how, you know, the quest would be better if we just cut out a lot of the stuff that she was doing. But you also got to realize, in storytelling, sometimes you need things like this to happen. The reason why you need Dirdif to kind of have the screen time to do what she does and all that sort of stuff, if I'm gonna be absolutely real, you need to care for that character, because when the big moment happened, especially at the end this quest, that you realize what ended up happening to Dirdif, then yeah, it would be kind of meaningless to do something like that if you wasn't building up that character to care for them in a little bit of a time. Just in that one quest alone, she only existed within that one quest, and then off rip, you just feel for the character. You feel for the character once you realize what the truth of the matter ended up being, and that's essentially what the point of Dirdif's whole thing was, right? To give you that sense of realization that, oh, she got effed up in some shape and form, and that's just how it is, right? So I'm not gonna sit here and shit on Dirdif at all, you know, and obviously there's gonna be a lot of people that just sit here just don't necessarily like how much she's simping, just the same way as Seat Lolly was getting mad of, you know, Traveler holding hands with Dirdif, which, honestly, go suck a dick, please. At the end of the day, just admit you just don't like straight shit. If you don't like straight shit, that's not my effing problem, nor the game's problem. If he wants to have a whole quest where we just bone Seat Lolly, then fine, let's just go ahead and do it. At least we cracking somebody's cheeks, right? That's just how it is. And I guess the last thing before we get into the next part, I would like to say that I really just shows us why not cry is like a thing that absolutely is needed, is the damn spaceship key, or at least the hibernation chamber type of key thing. And the reason for this is because they say that, like, oh, the spaceship that we have been looking for, or at least haven't really heard about in a long ass time. And I'm just like, Charai 5, where he talked about, I think Sonic, and I forgot what video it was, but when he was talking about Sonic and talking about how Tails had a certain plane and Sonic had flown that certain plane, he was just kind of like, remember the tornado too? That was also Sonic's plane. Remember that time we flew it over there? That's a good time. Like, he has always had that thing. Like, no, it wasn't. It was not there the entire time. Like, the spaceship was, the spaceship for a lot of people, myself included, unless it's written somewhere in these ancient ass artifact sets or these ancient ass textbooks that no one bothers to read basically on a casual level, honestly, honestly, where the hell do you learn that the traveler comes from use a spaceship to get here? Like, no one ever said a damn thing. And this is one of those moments where it's like, yeah, the devs could have done a better job as to the writing of the spaceship stuff, because all we have seen is shooting stars coming to Tibet. We don't know shit about a spaceship, dude. We don't know anything about what the spaceship was about or anything like that. This is the first time we're actually understanding this and hearing this. And again, if it's in a artifact set or in a textbook, why the hell would something that important just straight up not be within, the game already? Right? Because I just assumed that, oh, maybe the sustainer has sent them here and kind of trapped them here, or maybe they came by shooting star, because that's kind of how I always thought. I just thought they flew through space like you're just regular flying, like you're just Superman or something like that. But that's basically not the case, and they use a spaceship to get here, right? They have a whole ass spaceship. So why the hell was this not mentioned any time before? And if so, why the hell was it so damn hidden? That's my whole ass thing. And if this was in some type of ancient Chinese secret textbook somewhere in game that Lord Masters absolutely knew and might just get pissed off for people not knowing that there was a damn spaceship or the possibility of a spaceship was a thing, I'm gonna keep it very much a stack. This is exactly why you have something like Nod Cry happening, because for the most of the player base that tries to follow this story, especially being mad confused about the spaceship, I think that's valid to have something like that, because you need to tell people what the hell you're doing, because bitch, I have not seen anywhere where the spaceship has been included into the game. What artifact set are you pulling from? What textbook are you using? No one knows this shit but you, and honestly, that's just the whole damn problem. The casual experience, sometimes, yes, we will go as far as to, hunt down the information ourselves if we're really interested in it. But at the very same time, if it's not necessarily going to be, it usually reserved for stuff that we don't really bother to see ever and kind of just get talked around it, maybe, or that's just a part of the build up the world a little bit. But something this big, you would think would have been talked about before. And again, this is something that where a show and tell sort of situation has to be necessary, because again, where the hell will we learn this? I don't know. And now I will go ahead and talk about the last part of the quest, where we get to see our Abyss sibling Ether. And yes, I will be referring to Ether because I have Lamine, because my Lamine can't do anything wrong. But when it comes down to the whole thing, essentially, at least from what I understand, because time travel is nonsense, but when it comes down to it though, from what I understand, it seems like the traveler, or at least the traveler we have, alright, is within the future. Obviously, we know that, right? This is present day traveler. This is what we have, the future version. And then the sibling that we saw that talked with us in this whole Archon quest was the one that was from 500 years ago in the past, I believe. Right? Am I making, is that correct? Because they already seen the nonsense of what has happened. They seen the stuff of the cataclysm, and they just didn't like this shit whatsoever. And so essentially, from what I understand, because again, I am very much confused. Or maybe, or see, now I'm already confused. Or maybe this is already the sibling that has seen this world one time over and is currently just kind of just, seeing what our responses is, right? Because from what it sounds like, they gone through the cataclysm once. Right? They gone through it once, and they had a choice to make there, whether they wanted to, get with us again, or essentially save Khaenri'ah, and they chose us, which is why at the very beginning of the game, at least from what I'm understanding, the very beginning of the game where we end up getting stopped by the sustainer and all that sort of stuff, this is, what they're trying to do then, trying to get the hell out of Tibet, but ultimately was stopped, and that's just kind of how it was. Right? Am I understanding this correctly? But when it comes down to it though, so essentially what it seems like, they have a giant ass regret about saving us instead of saving Khaenri'ah. And the reason why they've been so distant and even more colder in this damn quest is because they're choosing to save Khaenri'ah instead of trying to get with us. Because what last time happened, Khaenri'ah fell and a whole bunch of shit happened across the bat, and it's not necessarily a good time. Granted, he been there for like 500 years, so it makes sense to really feel bad towards a nation that treated you like a prince, a royal type of person, and it makes all kinds of sense, right? That's genuinely how I imagine anybody would feel, some type of regret if they just, let their nation get torn apart after 500 years. And yeah, it's also valid to see them call it a second home too. So that's also like another thing too. Which also lets the traveler to make something from the Loom of Fate, which is the Atlas of a New World, that giant blue ass scroll, and which got the permission of the Lord of the Night. So I'm already here for whatever the hell the price is for making such a thing, right? Because obviously in Genshin Impact, if you haven't learned anything, you can't necessarily make a good call or make a big decision without something costing you something. There's always a heavy price when it comes down to changing something major. So what is the price they have to pay for such a feat of this, to make Khaenri'ah actually exist, to be new Khaenri'ah? Because at the end of the damn quest, they end up teleporting away, and I assume they're just teleporting to new Khaenri'ah. That's why they say at the end of your journey, we'll start again, a new adventure or something like that. And essentially, I assume they just went back to the future of a new Khaenri'ah, where they basically sit there waiting for us to finish the damn journey. At least, that is what I'm assuming is happening here. But yes, that seems to be basically the plan, like trying to go back, save Khaenri'ah, or at least make a new one, and then try to rectify the past mistakes, while also trying to be an equal to someone of the Heavenly Principles, so they can, I guess, negotiate in some shape and form, trying to see what they can do for, Khaenri'ahs and just the world as a whole, but more so for the Khaenri'ah side of the stuff, right? Trying to be an equal to the Heavenly Principles, which, oh boy, did the Heavenly Principles' whole minions did not like that, or at least they heard that, because the moment she said that, we end up seeing the Sustainer's whole ass energy stuff, or at least portals or whatever, kind of just disappear briefly, right? So she was listening. She was listening along with potentially Ishtaroth, because Ishtaroth is also like the shade of time or whatever, and essentially they just kept the sibling kept mentioning them over and over again. So, Ishtaroth also has something to do with a lot of this that's going on, which leads into other things to speculate too, right? Like, is Ishtaroth the same person, or at least is Ishtaroth the reason why Teyvat is having these type of looping ass events of some kind? Is the reason why Irminsul at the end of their journey, this sibling journey, couldn't necessarily record them because of Ishtaroth's doing? Like, what exactly does Ishtaroth do here? Like, obviously stop time, yes, but how far does her power actually go? How crazy does it actually get? Because we're getting a lot of characters now that just seem busted as all hell. And to keep very much to say, if characters like this is existing and they're doing a lot of the wild and stuff, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. That just kind of shows that yes, there is going to be hell to pay in the near future regarding a lot of the craziest shit when it comes down to what these characters can absolutely do. But this also gave me something to kind of think about too. Maybe even though, the Abyss sibling wants to essentially try to revive Khaenri'ah and has done so in the future, at least that's what I can assume. What if all this shit is just what the Heavenly Principles, the Sustainer and, Ishtaroth, what if this was just their plan the entire damn time? Even with new Khaenri'ah getting revived, most likely in the future, even with that being the whole point, what if that's just what they want? Because it's just starting to feel like, even though they're doing a lot of wild and stuff and trying to avoid doing the things that made Khaenri'ah suffer in the first damn place, it just feels like it's on the right path of what the heavens actually want, right? Because even though, the Ether want basically to be on the same level as the Heavenly Principles to kind of negotiate some shit, it still feels like everything is still falling within the hands of the heavens and everything like it. So I don't know. I feel like Ether is very much in over his head with what the hell he's trying to do, right? And here's the thing. I don't fault him hard for trying to revive Khaenri'ah. I don't necessarily think it's a bad move to want to, you know, save the people that kind of got effed over in a way. You know, they kind of effed themselves over too, but kind of effed themselves over in a way, and, you know, the gods took it very, very seriously. I get that, right? Again, if you live somewhere for 500 years, yeah, I would want to save them too if I could get the chance. But at the very same time, I do feel like there is a level of accountability that must be made here, because you chose to sit here and, you know, let the Khaenri'ahs suffer because you wanted to go and find your sibling, which, again, very much understandable. There's a lot of regrettable decisions in both of these calls, and neither one is very hard. I'm not really ultra, like, super duper mad at the Abyss sibling for what they're trying to do, because they're trying to fix two problems, but they can only fix one, and they decided just to choose another over another one, which is, again, valid in some shape or form, but the way they're going about certain things and, you know, how things have just been going on, it still doesn't feel like it's enough. Which I guess in this instance makes me feel like, I guess Dain has like a giant ass point, but then at the very same time, within this very same quest, and just in general Dain quests, I don't want to trust everything that Dain says. Because honestly, if you remember the first trailer of the game, where, you know, you saw the Khaenri'ah section, you saw Dain clench his fist and throw out some blue ass fire, to keep it very much a stack, it feels like, you know, Dain is saying a lot of this stuff, but still ultimately is going to get in the way of what they want to do, right? Whether they become something even worse than the, you know, the Abyss sibling becomes something worse than the Five Sinners of what they have done, I don't know. But we have to ultimately defeat them and then essentially go save our sibling once at the end of the journey, truthfully. So again, there's a lot of mix match of I don't know, there's a lot of other things that's going on, and bamboozle who did what, and that's what it feels like. And I guess this is also like another flaw with Dain, I feel like too, and I don't know if this is the intention of what they're trying to do, but it feels like he's trying to more so get his get back on the five sinners that F them over than what it feels like the gods. Like, yes, obviously he hates the gods, and yeah, sure buddy, have good luck with that, I suppose. You're not gonna really wash the heavenly principles if you can't even, you know, get rid of the whole curse or, you know, figure something else about it in some shape or form. But still, nonetheless, I'm not gonna lie, I do feel like the heavenly principles for Dain alone, again, gets him in a situation where he gets cooked. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and lie, which is why I'm so glad in the skirt quest, you know, we've actually trained a little bit and actually did something a little bit there, but we'll get to that when in the next video. But still, nonetheless though, it's just like Dain is fighting a battle, an uphill ass battle, that he's having very much a lot of confidence in that he thinks he can win. But I'm gonna be real, Dain, I don't see you winning this one, sir. Not by yourself. There's also something in this quest too that happens, like the whole thing about giving the spaceship key to Dainsleif, trying to find the sibling, whatever, and all that sort of stuff. What choices did you make? In my playthrough, I actually chose to keep the key because I was avoiding the fate. I wanted to avoid it because I was like, well, if she turns into a damn hilly churl, and that's ultimately what ends up happening, then what's the point of giving her the damn key if that's going to be the case? I was actually going to consider giving it to her so the timeline could flow the way it should, I guess. But at the very same time, I was like, but what if we could just avoid that? What if she never actually does that and things could be different? But because this is Genshin and they don't like to give you different paths of anything, which, you know, is very annoying at times, the Abyss sibling ends up just chucking their spaceship key right at Dainsleif, and that's what ends up happening for that route, which is kind of a cop-out. I'm not gonna sit here and lie, but that's just ultimately how it is. I guess it didn't want to just make too many different versions of the game, which who the hell would blame them for it though? But then again, you went into the time travel territory, so it's kind of also your fault too. But that's not the main thing I wanted to talk about, even though it is crazy that there's 3 spaceship keys, I guess, that exist now, but I don't really care too much about it because I don't know too much about it. But when it comes down to it though, there's one thing that actually bugs the hell out of me, and I've said this before in a theory before, when we was talking about Genshin overall and why things are happening. I asked a very specific question, which was, why does the damn Abyss sibling care so much about Khaenri'ah when you're not even from this world? Why would you risk so much to save this place that you don't even know, that you wasn't born from, that you're not even on the planet from? And ultimately, we get an answer as to why. And I have mixed feelings about this one. And essentially, it's because they felt like they need to, because they've been there for 500 years. But the reason of like their life before all that stuff for 500 years and everything like that was just straight up yoinked from existence, essentially erased. All they have is essentially, you know, not necessarily the memories of being our sibling, but the memories of Khaenri'ah instead. Like, just think about it. You start off from literally nothing, a blank slate. You don't know anything of anything, but you just know that you exist within this place called Khaenri'ah, and you know that's just how it is. And then gradually over time, you start getting your memories back, but at that point, are you even the same damn person? And ladies and gentlemen, that is the question that we have to basically really answer. But that's not even the bigger question I have for all this though. You do realize if Ether were to remember everything, you know, while also serving Khaenri'ah at the time, or at least got ported there at some point in time, you do realize things probably could have been a lot more different than what actually is playing out in the game currently, right? Now my question is, why? Why was the memories of the Abyss sibling erased before all that shit happened, right? Why was it that they was placed in Khaenri'ah for the 500 years, and then essentially as time goes on, why was it that the starting point for them? Why was that the case? What ended up happening to them before that? Now, because I feel like if we know what happens before that and what set that starting stuff into motion, into place, I feel like we would actually uncover the damn truth. I feel like it will be necessary. Now my brain kind of shifts in a lot of different directions in certain, I guess, ways when it comes down to Irminsul too. Because initially I was like, okay, maybe we got to use Irminsul in some shape or form to kind of, you know, figure some stuff out. But now I'm kind of just like, yo, what if it's just for that reason? What if we have to burn Irminsul for that sole reason? Because the Abyss Order is doing a lot of wild and shit, or it's getting really crazy with the memory stuff, and it's kind of, you know, affecting a lot of things. Maybe it's to prevent Khaenri'ah from coming through, and maybe that's the reason why Irminsul has to burn. But at the very same time, at this point, I'm not even fully sure. Because I'm not gonna lie, I imagine there is some insurance that has, you know, happened with the Lord of the Night and, you know, the Abyss sibling kind of talking with each other. I assume that there is some type of protection to make that whole Khaenri'ah dream still happen, even if something were to happen to Irminsul in some shape or form, right? I imagine so, because granted, Natlan's ley lines is also really weird and has a lot of stuff that I still don't understand to this damn day. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that's just kind of going on. But my main point is though, and the question that's really driving me to make this video is, what the hell happened before they served as prince or princess in Khaenri'ah? What was the memories that was erased, and who did it? I would assume it could be Ishtaroth, whatever, not Soul Calibur. But when it comes down to it though, I assume it could be them because they feel like a decent choice, right? Maybe it's them, maybe it's something else. I don't know entirely what the hell the answer could be, but it's just a lot of weird things that's just happening. It's starting to feel more than Genshin Impact here. It's starting to feel like something different is going on with this damn game recently, because I'm not gonna lie, it's less feeling like Genshin and feeling like something else entirely, but I'm not hating the direction where it goes, even though I do feel like it's a little bit of a cop out to say they just forgot their memories or something like that. I ain't gonna dwell on it too much though. But that's essentially, I guess, all I really wanted to say for this one. There's probably a lot I missed, and I just don't understand a lot of what's happening. And you're probably just hearing me saying a lot of stuff, and you're just like, "What the hell is this boy on? He's on crack." Also, I apologize. I'm tired as hell. I'm barely lifting this damn phone on my hands right now because I've been lifting a lot of heavy shit. But that's just how it is, though. But hopefully, still you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way outs, also on my socials, and if you'd like to donate to the channel, Kofi Cash App is available as well. And until then, it's been your boy Jay, sign off. Have a blessed day.